two presenters today. Most of you don't need any introduction to Mo. She's a legend and inspiration to everybody. And it's with great pleasure I can introduce Johan to you. Most of you probably never met Johan, but he's been here about a year now teaching in Ramsey, and he's an excellent teacher, and he's taken a session this morning. Unfortunately he's got to go after lunch, but he'll be here through lunchtime. He's also a very good Alexander technique teacher. I won't explain that to you because I can't. But I hope you enjoyed this session. And the first thing I'll do is hand it over to Mo, who's going to do a...
Before we start, just thank you, Duncan, for all that introduction. We trained with opposite schools, you know, legends. The head of the Michael Kerr, what's the name? What's the name? I've forgotten on purpose. Yes, they were arch enemies throughout the bots.
Okay.
Very good training, very good training. We have to say that here. So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, I'd just like you to say that basically what we're here today for is to sort of make it awareness of Joseph's time on the Isle of Man, because whilst he was here on the Isle of Man, he did actually do a lot of work on his methods. And you'll see from a clip with Lolita, who is the only person left in the world who actually trained with Joseph. And I won't say what she's going to say because you're going to see it hopefully in a minute. But basically what it's all about is making awareness of what he did whilst he was on the island and letting everybody know that he was on the island. But so I think everybody knows that now. But I'm just going to go back to the fact that in May of this year there was a heritage conference organised by Lolita and then passed on to Kathy Corey. They are the elders of the Pilates world. They're all in America, but they are the elders and they're like the gods of Pilates. Now, after Lolita gave her opening, we had Kathy, who was now taking over. The Heritage Conference is going to be every other year in Mönchengladbach, and we thought we'd nip this one in between because it's the 100 years, anniversary of 100 years when he landed here on the island. But just to get ourselves into the actual mood, I want you to read her, I want you to hear Kathy's address to the conference, and I think it has its little purpose for you all to hear it. So she starts off with, your teacher should have a teacher who has a teacher. It is with great pleasure that I greet each of you and thank you for being part of this special celebration. We are privileged to honour Joseph Pilates in his hometown as we become part of history carrying on his legacy of his work. It is not only a privilege to teach the work of Joseph Pilates, but it is a responsibility to carry his name and the power of his efforts into the future. The fact that we are here in Mönchengladbach exposes something profound about each of us. It says that we have chosen Pilates not as a job, but as our life's work, for we have all come together to acknowledge our roots. We are drawn to this Congress because it is unique from any other in the world. That uniqueness is a bond that we share not only with one another, but also with Mr. Pilates himself. To connect to our roots, ground us in tradition while nourishing us to grow, to explore, and to expand into our future. Each of us has a teacher who has a teacher, and each of them, in some way, is connected to the man who was born in this town. That connection affects the way we present our work to each of our students. It is the essence of who we are. By being here, we pay homage to Joseph Pilates and bring his work home to him. I am grateful you share my vision. Our future, the future of Pilates, begins here. Welcome. Sorry, she says welcome to the International Congress. Boy, you're not there. So that's really the theme that we're going to work on for today. Okay.
And we were very interested in that. It was so wonderful that you told us what he said about his time on the island.
Well, I found it very interesting, and it was for me a revelation. And it taught me, I love the wisdom of it as well. And because this lady very sympathetically said to him, Mr. Pilates, it was very shameful and sad that you had to spend those 4 years, he said, in the Isle of Man. and being interned in the island. And he looked at her and he was very surprised. And he said, oh no, those were wonderful years. Those were wonderful years because I had the time to be able to really consolidate my method, and I also had the opportunity to work with all these gentlemen that were soldiers that were coming in with different problems, different ailments, and from what I have heard since, actually, he was also very proud of the fact that his group that exercised with him on a regular basis did not get an influenza that during that World War I was ravaging. I heard it actually killed more people in the war.
That's right, I heard that as well. So,
and
he saved them from that.
Yes, and he said, and they all were fine. So he was very pleased and proud of his accomplishment during that time, which tells us that sometimes those very difficult times where we say, well, we're ill or we are unable to do what we would like or we don't have the freedom, you can turn it and look at it from a positive into a learning experience, and you're very productive.
Hopefully, because we really like to do a Pilates day on the Isle of Man. Probably next year. Oh, because it's 100 years from where he would be coming, so we thought maybe we'd call it 100 years. Or the 100.
Oh, the 100. Well, we know the 100 is very popular.
Thank you so much. Thanks for talking.
Lift your awareness up through the back of the calf muscles, lifting your awareness to your knees, and then lifting everything up to your hip bones. From your hip bone, bring your awareness to your pubic bone and pelvic floor muscles. And then lift everything up to your breastbone. When you get to your breastbone, keep everything there, drop your shoulders, and imagine you've got a crown, a heavy crown on your head. Okay? So let's do that again. We're going to think of your triangle of your feet. Think about, make sure your knees are relaxed, so it's not overextended or hyperextended. Imagine that movement, that lifting everywhere the hip joint. Also, with small movements, it helps the pelvis to stabilise. You better do the other side as well. Don't let it up. So, good. One of the things that the teaching point is that if your foot is there, if you imagine you've got a string coming up from there and circling it, that helps to stabilise the pelvis as well. Okay. Next one is rolling back. So start off with sitting up. Just think about the correct breathing. Again, quite difficult to teach, quite difficult to perform, but it is one of the original. Good. Okay. First 13 is single leg kick. See the importance of taking the leg back and flexing the foot. Yeah, makes totally different movements on the muscles. And then the double leg kick. A good idea if you're doing this is to put something under your tummy and bring your navel into your spine. Okay. Next one is the neck pull, which swimming. Again, point to think about when you're doing this. is to try to keep your navel, bring your navel into your spine as you're doing this. Or some people say, put a bit of ice underneath your navel, or imagine you've got a bit of ice underneath your navel, and that puts you back in the right position. Again, if you're very strong, it's quite easy if you're really strong. Okay? Leg pull front, which is basically, as possibly as we know, a plank. And again, I personally very seldom teach the plank in a class because it is so important to get it absolutely dead right. And the last one, not the last one, but this last one we're going to do is the seal, right? And then that's when you come up, clap your feet together, and then somebody throws you a fish. And the next one is the crab, which is rally done. But Jonathan's going to just... You're not going to do this now. See how difficult it gets?
Jonathan's actually making it very easy.
I know, but I was going to say, do you want to try it? So
He does this very
I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Johan, and I will just stick it with Johan. I will try the surname. But the surname is Swanpool. And I'm kind of the new kid on the block on the Isle of Man regarding Pilates and also teach Elephant. To begin, I just want to do 4 movements that are just sometimes good to understand the spine. In Pilates, we work the spine very often into a seeker, and then very often into a flat back. And if that curve is nice and even and long in seeker, then everything kind of works really, really good. Your core works good, your arms move well, your legs are kind of holding from your core. So we're going to practice that a few times, and it's something you can take home with you. Yeah, that's okay. And then the goal is to show you what I do with it. It's kind of like body control based. It's kind of a little bit the Alexander because that's part of my education and part of what I've been doing over 50 years. And then just give you like a beginner and you become somehow using different muscles that are more upper cross muscles that way. And then come out again. And again, just bow your head one more time. And then head forward and spine falls upwards again. So that's what I kind of suggest, especially in the beginning with people. It's on all fours. Most people are not used to doing that anymore, so their awareness is kind of gone from that. And then they can use a mirror to kind of look at that, especially with all the Pilates movement. That C-curve is very, very important. Come along to your back. And then bend the knees for me. So remember your cap when you kind of tuck it under from the pelvis? Good. So that's going to be your bridge now.